Singer-songwriter Jewel celebrating mental health innovators in the first ever Not Alone Awards on Tuesday in Las Vegas. She has long worked as a mental health advocate and created the awards along with her Inspiring Children Foundation to recognize people and groups that are changing the conversation around mental health. The ceremony was the centerpiece of the Not Alone Summit, a three-day gathering hosted by Jewel and Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak. It'll be broadcast later this month on iHeart Radio and featured performances from a host of artists, including Jewel herself. Jewel joins me now from Las Vegas. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to The Story Is.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So this is the Not Alone Summit. Talk about the importance of that phrase, not alone.
Yeah, I feel like whenever you're having mental health challenges, you feel like you're the only one that feels that way. And so the goal of the social media campaign is to let people know that they're not alone, that what they're feeling is probably pretty normal and more common than people think.
And for you, this is very personal, and you've been pretty brave in talking about your story for a long time.
You know, it's my goal when I moved out at 15 was to see if happiness was a learnable skill, if it wasn't something that was really prevalent in my household. And it led me on a journey of really wanting to help others with the same cause. And 25 years ago, it was, not even a word. Mental health didn't even exist as a word, I feel like. And now it's much more common and sadly, much more prevalent.
Do you think that it's more prevalent, or do you think people are just talking about it more?
I think it's both. I think people are talking about it more, which is really wonderful. I also just think that life is sort of causing us to be more anxious for a number of reasons. Technology, I think, is this really unprecedented thing in our lifetimes, and I think it's causing us to have to adjust in new ways.
What about this idea of a stigma? Because you talked about it, years ago. People really didn't talk about it. Now they are. Is this something you talk about with the next generation of musical artists? Are they turning to you as a sort of mentor figure in this space?
Yeah, the entertainment industry is really difficult. And I think there's a lot of aspects to the job that aren't particularly healthy. I think it's why so many musicians on the road turned to drugs and alcohol historically. And so I am mentoring more and more young musicians that are trying to have really good mental health habits while they're touring.
What do you say to them? What's your advice to them?
I think just honor how you're feeling and make sure your life works for you. It's no point having a career if you're unhappy. And there's lots of things we can do to be able to tailor our careers. We're pretty lucky in a lot of ways. And a lot of that's making sure that your management and the people that support you are on board with that issue.
You said at 15 you left the house looking for happiness. When did you find it? Was there a particular moment?
For me, I think it's when I realized, you can't just get happy. I think you have to learn to change your habits so that happiness is an outcome or a side effect. Learning to make better choices, learning how to have better habits really helped me.
And for folks maybe that aren't even in the music industry but have struggled with mental health, we know so many Americans do. What are some of those habits that you'd recommend for all of us?
I think the first thing for people to know is that there are so many different types of help. There's CBT, there's DBT, there's transcranial magnets, there's talk therapy. So if one thing isn't working for you, keep going. Don't think that you're broken just because one type of therapeutic thing didn't work.
And, this summit is called the Not Alone Summit. There's the Not Alone Awards. There's a big concert at that Not Alone. There's a whole lot of friends. You're not alone this week in Las Vegas. What does that mean to you to be surrounded by so much love from the music industry? And talk about some of the highlights of this whole summit.
I think what they've really learned about happiness is that it doesn't actually come from your jobs. It really comes from our connections. It comes from our friendships. And so the point of the summit is to bring people together in real life to connect around a meaningful topic.
Well, you are literally sparkling because of the outfit, but your message is
True to my name.
sparkling as well. We love you, and we're grateful for you using your megaphone for such an important topic. Jewel, thank you so much.
Thank you.